What if I told you that one of the biggest reasons relationships lose their spark isn't time, stress, or even attraction, but a simple misunderstanding about how pleasure actually works? Not something dramatic, not something obvious, but something subtle that most men were never taught to understand properly. And because of that, they keep repeating the same pattern again and again without realizing why the connection slowly fades. Today, we're going to talk about that missing piece. Not from a fantasy perspective, not from unrealistic expectations, but from biology, psychology, and real human experience. And more importantly, what you can actually do differently starting tonight. The misconception most men grow up with. Let's start with the belief that shapes almost everything. Many men grow up thinking that intimacy is primarily about performance, about doing one specific act well, and that everything else is secondary. It's a simple narrative, straightforward, and completely incomplete, because real intimacy isn't built on one action. It's built on how the entire system of the body and mind responds over time. And when you reduce everything down to one idea, you miss the part that actually matters most. What research and experience actually show. When researchers study female pleasure, one pattern appears consistently across different cultures and age groups. A significant number of women do not reach peak satisfaction from a single type of stimulation alone. Instead, their experience is influenced by gradual buildup, consistent rhythm, emotional comfort, nervous system engagement, and most importantly, attention to sensitivity. This isn't about complexity. It's about understanding that the body responds differently than most people assume. And when that difference is ignored, the experience becomes incomplete. Why sensitivity matters more than force. Here's something most people underestimate. The human body, especially in areas related to pleasure, is incredibly sensitive, not just physically, but neurologically. There are thousands of nerve endings designed to respond to very specific types of stimulation. Light, controlled, consistent signals, not randomness, not pressure, not speed. And when those signals are delivered correctly, the brain responds in a completely different way. It releases chemicals associated with pleasure, connection, relaxation, trust. But when stimulation is rushed or inconsistent, the opposite happens. The nervous system pulls back instead of opening up. The real problem. Most men face. The issue isn't effort. Most men are trying. The issue is timing and awareness. They move too quickly. They change patterns too often. Or they stop right when things are actually starting to build. And this creates a cycle where momentum builds, then drops, expectation rises, then disappears, connection starts, then breaks. Over time, that inconsistency becomes frustrating, not because of lack of desire, but because of lack of understanding. A smarter approach. Building instead of rushing. Instead of thinking in terms of doing more, think in terms of building gradually. Because the body responds best to progression, not sudden intensity. Start with indirect attention. Areas around the most sensitive zones. Let the body warm up. Let the nervous system adjust. This creates anticipation, and anticipation is not just emotional, it's biological. Blood flow increases, sensitivity rises, awareness sharpens, everything becomes more responsive. The importance of rhythm. Once you move into more direct stimulation, something critical comes into play. Rhythm, not speed, not pressure. Rhythm. The human brain loves patterns. When it recognizes a consistent pattern, it begins to relax into it, and that relaxation allows deeper responses to occur. But the moment you constantly change what you're doing, the brain has to reset, and that reset breaks the buildup. So instead of constantly switching, find what works and stay with it, longer than you think you should. The build, pause, build principle. Here's where things get interesting. The body adapts quickly. If you maintain the exact same intensity for too long, responsiveness can decrease. So instead of pushing harder, you pull back slightly, not stopping completely, just easing the intensity. This creates contrast, and contrast is powerful, because when you return to the original rhythm, it feels stronger than before. This cycle, build, ease, return, keeps the nervous system engaged, It prevents adaptation, and it amplifies the overall experience. The most common mistake. There's one mistake that stands out above all others: stopping or changing direction at the peak moment. This usually happens because of uncertainty or overthinking. But in reality, that's the exact moment consistency matters most. When the body is approaching a peak response, it needs stability, not change, not experimentation, just continuation. Same rhythm, same pressure, same focus, until the process completes naturally. The role of communication. No two people respond exactly the same way. That's just reality. So instead of guessing, ask, pay attention, notice breathing, movement, reactions. Small signals tell you everything you need to know. And when someone feels understood, their body responds more openly because comfort removes resistance. Combining physical and emotional connection. Physical technique alone isn't enough because the brain plays a huge role in how the body responds. When someone feels rushed, ignored, or misunderstood, the body holds back, but when they feel safe, heard, and valued, everything changes. So the goal isn't just physical stimulation. It's creating an environment where response can happen naturally. Patience changes everything. One of the biggest differences between average and exceptional experiences is patience, not rushing the process, not watching the clock, but allowing the body to move at its own pace. Some responses happen quickly, others take time, and both are completely normal. The moment you stop rushing, you remove pressure, and when pressure disappears, responsiveness increases. Long-term impact. When this approach becomes consistent, something deeper happens. Confidence builds, not from ego, but from understanding. Connection strengthens because both people feel more in sync. And over time, desire doesn't fade. It grows because the experience becomes something that's actually fulfilling, not just routine. Clearing up misconceptions. Let's address a few common misunderstandings. More intensity equals better results. Not necessarily. Faster means more effective. Usually the opposite. Technique matters more than connection. Both matter, but connection amplifies everything. What you can focus on. Starting today, slow down your approach. Pay attention to responses. Maintain consistency once something works. Use variation carefully, not constantly. Communicate openly. Be patient with the process. These aren't complicated steps, but they require awareness. The reality check. This isn't about perfection. It's about improvement, understanding how the body works, and adjusting your approach accordingly. Because once you shift from guessing to understanding, everything changes. The difference between a forgettable experience and a meaningful one is rarely about doing more. It's about doing the right things at the right time with the right awareness. And when you get that balance right, the result isn't just better moments, it's stronger connection, deeper trust, and a level of satisfaction that doesn't need to be forced. Take your time, pay attention, focus on connection over performance, because the goal isn't just to impress, it's to understand. And when you understand, everything else follows naturally. Take care of yourself and the person you're with, because real connection is built, not rushed.